Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. We're looking today at Captain America 339. It is part of the Fall of the Mutants crossover that was going on. I am covering X-Men. I am not there yet, but I'm a little ahead on this, so we are going to go ahead and do this issue because I am covering the Captain run, or the Captain, what everything that's led to Steve Rogers becoming the Captain. He's not Captain America during this time. I do have a playlist. Feel free to check that out if you would like. And I've started covering Captain America right before, with the events that led him to no longer becoming Captain America, and the events that led to John Walker then becoming the new Captain America. This cover is done by Ron Frenz, who was a longtime Spider-Man artist. And then during this time, I believe he had gone and done Thor. And he had a very long run with Tom DeFalco on Thor. Bob McLeod inks this cover, and you can see the nice dry brush being applied here. I love it. I'm a big fan of dry brush. And we have Famine of the Horseman of Apocalypse here. So, nice cover here. Kieron Dwyer does the inside, not Ron Frenz here, but thought we'd linger on this cover. All right, here we go. And so we have a Famine here attacking the heartland of America, destroying. She's trying to do exactly that, famine and starve the people. But you know what's funny in 2025 is that we're doing this ourselves because we're taking all of the farming land and we're converting that into places for people to live. We're actually reducing the farmland in the world because we gotta find places to put people. So we're doing this ourselves now, which is kind of funny. All right, so she says her name is Famine and she's here to destroy America. So here's what she's doing. She's killing the animals and killing the people. Here is our credits. Mark Gruenwald, longtime writer. He'll actually be writing for a while more. Kieron Dwyer does the pencils. Tony DeZuniga is the inks. Ralph Macchio and Tom DeFalco round up editorial here. So you can see her killing these cows and destroying the farmland. And seeing this guy here picking up the corn, or corn comes in season. So normally if it was corn picking time, he'd be wearing a jacket because it does look here, this could be wheat, perhaps. Harvesting week. So she kills this dude here. And so elsewhere now, Steve Rogers is having a nightmare. He's fighting the organization that took away his Captain America stuff. So this is all a dream here. You can see, hey, no shield and no uniform. Love the boxers. Dismissing him and him putting on the Captain stuff here, and you look at do your worst, bureaucrat. And so the you know he's just, like I said, it's just a nightmare here. So this is supposed to be Ronald Reagan. And so then he wakes up and, of course, realizes it's all a dream. So once Steve wakes up here and he's sure that it was a dream here, D-Man goes, "You all right, Steve? The way you were gasping and groaning, I thought." And Steve says, "I was just having a bad dream, D-Man. Since, by the way, D is for demolition man, but instead of, people just call him D-Man, but it's demolition man. Since the presidential commission forced me to resign as Captain America, I've been having the same dream over and over. Everything's stripped away from me, and I can't get myself together again." Real quick, everyone here, as you can see, is on a airplane. We have Nomad, his girlfriend, whose name escapes me. We got Falcon, and oh my God, what is the Falcon's bird's name? It escapes me here. So, anyway, D-Man continues here. "This is no consolation, but as the newest superhero on the block, it's reassuring to know that even living legends have nightmares and self-doubts." And Steve says, "Behind the legend is a man, just like anybody else, Dennis." And so here goes the airplane. And so Steve Rogers continues, "And now that I'm starting all over, I realize just how valuable my legend, my reputation was to carrying out my mission." And D-Man is, we're going to get a short recap of the previous issue. "Yeah, if you'd been able to tell the Las Vegas police who you really were, they'd never have thrown us in the slammer for helping them nail those serpent crooks." And so, of course, they let us know that was in the previous issue. One of the things I did like about this era, and I really wish modern comic books would return, is a sort of recapping and treating every comic like it could be somebody else's. Right now, in current in current comic books, modern writers just expect you to know stuff, and I feel that it's valuable to treat that mandate that used to be around here that Jim Shooter had. Every comic could be somebody's new issues. Give them enough information so they can figure out what's happened before and then just start from that first comic book. So, recaps are really good. I know that it's troublesome because you gotta waste a page or two, sort of explaining what's happened, but it's I think that it's good. So, and so Steve Rogers says, "True, the authorities used to give me a lot of latitude in which to work." And Falcon comes up and says, "That means you're thinking of standing up to the commission for that crud they stuck you with and getting back what is rightfully yours." And so Steve goes, "Sorry, Sam. They made their decision. Let them live with it. I know I can." And so we've got a thought balloon here. And the Falcon thinks here, "Man alive, how am I ever going to be able to convince my buddy how wrong-headed his attitude is? I've only got a few more weeks. Then the high-flying Falcon has to haul his tail back to his home turf." And so D-Man then says, "I take it you want to follow up on these serpent guys." And the captain says, "Uh-huh. Their ilk has managed to elude me too many times now. It's time for a reckoning." And so the captain says, "If any of you want to get back to your own lives, please feel free. I can handle it from here." And Falcon says, "Not me. What better way for a city slicker to spend his vacation than traipsing?" I'm not familiar with that word. "All around the country." And D-Man says, "Nothing in the world I'd rather do than hang around with you, Cap. If Vagabond and Nomad were awake, I'm sure they'd agree." So this is Vagabond here. And Cap says, "Okay then, after we recover our wheels." And so I love this. This looks like Tom Selleck, but blondish here. And I love the Hawaiian shirts. I wear Hawaiian shirts all the time. And he says, "Yo, Mr. D-Man, something coming over the radio might interest you," says the pilot. And Steve says, sorry, D-Man says, you go ahead, and gives it to Steve. And he goes, something about someone poisoning farmland in the Midwest. And he says, pilot, plot a course to Kansas. For what the big D is paying, I'll fly you to Timbuktu. So D-Man is apparently rich, and so he's kind of financing this whole thing here. So um, and so here we are now, Fort George Meade in Maryland. And so here comes Bucky. He's Bucky at this time. He will be changing his name. And then, of course, we have John Walker here. And so Bucky says, what did I tell you, Johnny? The man didn't care how we handled that crackpot Professor Power as long as we got the job done. And so, again, that was the previous issue. And John Walker says, well, I still, hey, what's all that racket? And so, if you remember from the previous issue, he ended up killing him. So now we see Freedom Force, and during this time, Freedom Force are federal agents, members of the United States Mutant Hunting Task Force. I also cover X-Men, so I'll give you a quick recap here. The previous Brotherhood of Mutants joined the Feds in return for pardons, so now they work for the Feds, so they got a clear record here. And Captain America says, I should have guessed, the Blob and his cronies. And Bucky says, what's so funny, Tubbs? And Blob says, ain't you heard? My old-time sparring partners, the excruciating X-Men, went off and got themselves killed, and I was there when it happened. Hee-haw. This is, of course, after X-Men 227. This calls for a 20 keg salute. So he's celebrating the death of the X-Men. Of course, we know the X-Men haven't died. As I mentioned before, I am ahead on Captain America. So I will catch up on X-Men, I promise. But for now, I haven't gotten to the Fall of the Mutants. I am just about on X-Men. As of this recording, about to get into the oh my goodness, the Mutant Massacre. So I'm a few issues in right before the Mutant Massacre. So I'll get there. So and Bucky says, why so glum, pal? The X-Men were baddies, weren't they? And Captain America here says, anybody that Freedom Force hates must have had something going for them. So I love the crew cut here, differentiating, because he's also a blonde. And it would have been nice if the Marvel would have used a brunette or something else, but at least they give him the crew cut to show a difference. That it would have been nice, black hair, or if not black hair, then brown hair, something else. It would have been nice, something else here. So all right. So John Walker continues, besides, after what happened with Power, I'm not fond of anybody getting, and all of a sudden through the speaker here says, attention, Captain America and Bucky, please report to the briefing at once. And he goes, there goes our R&R, that be rest and relaxation. And of course, they're going to tell him about what's going on here with Famine, and they want these two to take him down. And so they're going to be brief him en route, and off they go. So we're going to basically have the captain probably meet. I haven't read this in forever. So I have this series here. I have I don't have every single issue. I do have this one. I have most of this series. I think I'm only missing like 2 issues. And back back then comic books were a little hard to miss. If you didn't have a comic book store, you sort of missed it. If you didn't go to the 7-Eleven or to the, wherever they sold comic books right away, then you sort of missed it. Um so that's what happened. So I missed a couple issues, and I just sort of never went back. I should look in my comic book store, see if I can find them. So again, we now see Famine, and the U.S. military is trying to stop him, but she is too much for them. And you can see him take him down. Um, so um, continues, she's looking at what she's done, and then she's attacked by the Falcon's Falcon. God, what is the Falcon's name? Redwing, right? I think so. Redwing. Okay. So, the Falcon says, end of the ride, psycho. And here comes D-Man, Captain, and Nomad. And Captain America, or sorry, the captain says, looks like Falcon's made contact. With any luck, he can ground that maniac. And D-Man's like, sure wish we had time to land before land. I've never skydived before. And Nomad says, hey, if Falcon can't bring him down, I'm going to be pretty useless standing around like scarecrows in some farmer's burnt out cornfield. And Captain says, I have perfect confidence in the Falcon, Nomad. And D-Man says, say, guys, isn't it time to pull our ripcords yet? So, um, uh, sorry, the Falcon now is fighting with Famine here, trying to get him down, and she touches it, and he screams out. He's like, yeah, what in the blazes do you do? And Famine just smiles. And he grabs her and says, okay, then, lady, I'll just have to see it. I just have to see to it that you keep your stinking paws off me and put her and not what is this wrestling move called? It's not a chokehold, obviously. Um anyway, just uh uses it so that they can't touch, but they actually could. They could touch the face if they wanted to, but and how does he fly? Um I don't. Now you can understand it because now they have the wings behind them. But how did he fly back then? Start wiggling, lady. You're gonna break loose, and you got a long fall as Redwing fights that thing here. So, all right, and so our heroes have landed, and Falcon is getting her down, and so here comes our heroes to go and help fight. So Nomad says, looks like we'll be able to wrap this up in no time and get back to my chick. And D-Man says, hope you're right. You saw what happened to those two choppers, didn't you? One of the things about D-Man is that he's got Wolverine's helmet and Daredevil's original costume, and I've always thought that cool. So, um, and Captain says, D-Man, keep an eye on that flying horse of hers. Nomad, give Sam some backup here. So, she unfortunately does uh, touch Falcon and manages to escape, and then uses her power on him, and he's like holding his stomach, and he goes, I'm hungry. Of course, she is starving him, and so she continues, and she's going to try to kill him, but then Nomad hits him with one of his little discs, and she looks, and then he sends her another one, but he misses. And so Nomad says, watch it. She shoots some kind of energy out of her hands. And Captain says, Falcon's down. I'll see to him. And then here D-Man thinks here, the metal, what's this, is circling for a landing. And so she then attempts to hit our heroes, and Nomad and the captain get out of the way so as to not hit. D-Man lands on top of this thing and kicks her off, and then the creature tries to buck her off. So, and Steve now checks on Sam here while the other two keep Famine busy. And Sam says, so weak, famished. And so you can see Steve taking him, and he goes, easy, pal, easy, as Nomad tries to evade her and get her. And then so he grabs some dirt here and throws it in her face. You know, I've noticed she doesn't speak or hasn't spoken at all. So, and she goes, you look hungry, bag of bones. Have a knuckle sandwich. And punches her. And so he grabs his disc here. And so D-Man is still trying to keep this thing from getting him, but it's mechanical. So he uses his strength to shatter the controls here. And so he's got Falcon resting against a vehicle of some kind. And Falcon says, very groggy, I'll be okay, Steve. Really, go after that loony. Stopping her destruction is more important. And Steve thinks here, Sam looks like he's lost 10 pounds. He needs prompt medical attention. Okay, Sam, I'll be back as soon as I can, he says. And so he busts that thing kind of like a shield. He's gonna use it, as a shield, but he thinks here, but if this mad woman isn't stuck, she'll single-handedly cause a nationwide food shortage, potentially affecting millions. This is a poor substitute for my shield, but it will have to do. And Sam's like, guts on fire, wish I was dead. And so we see Famine getting rid of Nomad here, and here comes the captain here, and he's like, what do you think you're accomplishing by despoiling the land and robbing hardworking farmers off their livelihood and trying to starve a nation, as she's going out of her way to kill Nomad? Of course, she doesn't answer. She's doing what Apocalypse ordered her to do, and so she is going to attack Steve here, but he blocks it with the front of that thing. And so he's like, well, when reason fails, there's always stealth and force. So he jumps on her here. D-Man crashes that mechanical bull thing. And so he's got her pinned, and now she finally speaks here. And she's like, get off me. You bloated bag of flesh. The world is mean, ugly place with nothing fit to eat. I must reap the rot men consume. I must cleanse the earth of its foul vegetation and putrid meat. And so he's like, no, you must see a psychiatrist. And she says, master, calling Apocalypse, and she disappears. And so she's vanished. And so his next concern is Falcon and Nomad, so he goes to check on him. But then it says here 3 hours later, and our heroes have arrived, but everything is done. He's like, the swath of destruction abruptly ends here, but there's no sign of the person who caused it. I just can't figure it. And Bucky says, oh well, you can't win them all, Cappy. Sometimes you can't even fight them all. Come on, let's get out of here. So very comic bookish, which is what I love here. And so we're going to now get to the end of our issue here. And we see here that 2 weeks have now passed, and we are in Stark Enterprises here. So now we're finally caught up with Iron Man here. And so Steve meets Tony here, and he's going to ask him for a shield. And so he's going to make him one. He says, I'm really sorry, Steve, but I can't share that secret with anyone just now. Oh, sorry, that was about him firing him. I'm sorry. Let me back it up here. he fired Iron Man. He still is, but he's going through. I have a playlist because I'm also covering Iron Man as well, and Iron Man has, in case you don't go check out the videos, Iron Man is in the middle of the Stark Wars, or um, Armor Wars, as it's, I think, also been called. And he had to end up firing himself as Iron Man, as a representative of it. And he's not letting anybody know that it's still him inside. So he's gonna go show him the shield. And so um, now they're looking at it, and he says, I used this chamber to test out certain of the armor's weapon system. The walls are lined with adamantium. That would have cost a fortune. Same as I made your shield out of here. Now they use vibranium in the because of the movies, but it's actually both. It's adamantium and vibranium. So nothing quite as the feel of my original, but this is very close. And he's like, "Go on, try it. I'll activate the training dummies." And so he's gonna go practice, and he feels whole again. And so um, he says, "Tell you what, um, keep the shield on sort of a permanent trial basis, okay? No charge." And he's like, "But I couldn't." And Tony says, "Nonsense. Once word gets around that your shield was made here, it will be the best publicity Stark Enterprise has had in months." And so Tony thinks, now I'm certain Steve won't interfere with my activities, even though my next mission will pit me against the U.S. government itself. And it says here, continued in Iron Man 238 on sale in 2 weeks. So, all right. Captain America 339 by Mark Gruenwald and Kieron Dwyer. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.